Welcome to the Tuesday Night Trading Post. This is just something new I'm wanting to try out, and basically it's just a time and a place for us to get together and share information. So the time's going to be Tuesday night every so often. This ain't going to be weekly, it's just whenever I can. And the place here at Tom River Simple Living Channel. And I want us to share information on the things that we all need and use on a regular basis. And I couldn't think of a better place to start than with boots. And not just boots, but really good boots. Boots are like so many other things. Most of us really don't know that much about them. I mean, honestly, getting a good pair of boots, and by good, I mean comfortable. They last, they hold up. Getting a good pair of boots, there's a lot of luck involved in that now. Maybe you find a pair you're really happy with, and maybe you can get that same style and brand next time, maybe. Maybe not. The way things get discontinued, or about the time you find something you really like, they discontinue it or they change it and mess it up. Yeah. All right, so the case of boots. Honestly, I don't know that much about boots, but I have learned a thing or two over however many years. Doing construction in my younger days, and then almost 30 years working in different factories, and then a lifetime of just outdoors, hunting and working outdoors. So I picked up a couple things, and I'm going to share what little bit I've learned, and hopefully we can put our heads together and figure out what really makes a good pair of boots and what to look for in the future when we go to get some boots. One thing I've learned about boots, at least for myself, maybe this is my foot type, but the most comfortable boots out there are mock toe boots, and that's mock as in moccasins. And you can tell a mock toe boot because they have the stitching around the toe here. Okay, these go back to, again, moccasins. So this style's been around for pretty much ever. And the way I figured out these were the most comfortable, at least again for me, was just sheer luck and happenstance. I stopped by the local supply company and I needed a new pair of steel toe boots for work. The only thing they had in my size were mock toe boots. I got them because I needed boots, wore them to work, and I was just amazed at how comfortable they were. And keep in mind, steel toe boots are not famous for being comfortable. At that time, I don't even know that I'd ever heard the term mock toe. So I did some research. I looked at the boots and seen the stitching across the top, and I knew, okay, that's different than most boots. And I did research, and I found out they were mock toes. Well, that was 20 years ago, and I've been wearing mock toe boots ever since, every chance I get. My current job, I can't wear mock toe boots because they're a very specialized boot. I can't get them in mock toes. I hate my current boots, though, as far as my work boots. And this is, I guess, comfort. Let's talk about comfort, because that's the thing about mock toes. For me, they are so comfortable. A comfortable boot, my feet get tired in these just like any other boot. But the difference between a comfortable boot and an uncomfortable boot is at the end of the day, it feels good to sit down, but I'm not sitting there thinking, I can't wait to take these boots off. With mock toe boots, I forget they're on. At the end of the day, I sit down, I just leave my boots on. They're comfortable. All right, well, if you've got a pair of boots that halfway through the day or 3/4 of the way through the day, all you're thinking is, I can't wait to take these off. Okay, that's not a comfortable boot. And that's the difference right there. And I think part of why mock toe boots are so comfortable, first of all, they're leather. And leather, when you break in a pair of leather boots, that leather is going to give in places that it needs to give, and it's going to conform to the shape of your foot. And it's just more comfortable. You can't get that from synthetic materials. And another thing with the mock toe boots, pretty much all of the mock toe boots I've looked at, they have what's called a Goodyear welt. All right, now this isn't related to comfort, but this is related to durability. A Goodyear welt, if you see stitching on the sole all the way around the boot. That's generally a sign that they have Goodyear welt. Well, that means you can carry those boots to a cobbler. They can separate the sole from the midsole and they can put new soles on. So you can have them resoled and you can get a lot of life out of a pair of boots, you know, being able to have them resoled. All of the boots that you look at where you can see where the rubber from the sole just kind of wraps up around the boot, good luck with those, getting them resoled. So comfort and durability and that being able to have them resoled, it's really hard to beat a mock toe boot. At least for me, I haven't found anything better. The next big lesson I learned on boots is you don't need a different pair of boots for everything you do. You don't need hunting boots and work boots and boots for working around the house. Now, if you have a job that's you have to wear specialized safety shoes or something, okay, that's different, and I'm in that boat myself. Or, you know, maybe you live in a cold climate and for winter you need a very specialized boot for all the snow and stuff. Okay, that's, you know, a different matter. But just in general, a good comfortable pair of boots is a good comfortable pair of boots, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. And I learned that by just sheer luck and happenstance also. I needed a new pair of boots when I bought these, and I wanted mock toes for all the reasons I just said, and I went in a local shoe store, and this was pretty much all they had for a hunting boot. I was there to get some hunting boots. And these boots here, they're Irish setters. Okay, my late Uncle Lynn I've talked about before, a pretty knowledgeable fella. He had mentioned years ago, just in a conversation we were having, that the most comfortable boots he had ever owned were Irish setters. Well, for some reason, that just stuck with me, and I'd never seen a pair of Irish setter boots until I saw these. Well, I had some concerns when I bought them because they weren't insulated. And keep in mind, when I was young and starting hunting and outdoors and all that, my feet froze with the boots we used to have. I mean, my feet got cold. And I still remember to this day the first pair of insulated Gore-Tex boots I ever had. My daddy got them for me for Christmas. I loved those boots. I mean, there's a difference between day and night as far as keeping my feet warm. So I thought, okay, you need hunting boots for hunting, and they need to be insulated, and they need, you know, a really aggressive sole on the bottom so you don't slip and all that good stuff. And, well, when I saw these aren't insulated. And they didn't have an aggressive sole on the bottom. So I had some concerns about these as hunting boots. But I had these pair of Rockies here that are insulated, heavily insulated. So I thought, okay, well, I'll get these, and if nothing else, I can wear them in early season. And if they're comfortable, okay, great. What turns out, these were extremely comfortable. Most comfortable pair of boots I'd ever owned. And my Uncle Lynn was right on that one. Okay, and it also turns out my feet didn't get cold in these. Well, what I came to learn is the key to keeping your feet warm is keeping them dry. It's not the insulation that keeps your feet warm, it's the breathable, waterproof liner. In the case of my first pair of boots, it was the Gore-Tex, not the insulation. Well, these have a breathable, waterproof liner in them. And it looks just like cloth on the inside of the boot, but it's actually a waterproof liner. And I found that even down, below freezing, I can just put on a pair of merino wool socks, and these aren't especially thick. It's just these are really good at wicking moisture away. Plus, wool's just great for keeping you warm anyway. And between the wicking of moisture with these socks and the liner being breathable, I can wear these below freezing and my feet are still just nice and toasty. Okay, so that was a learning experience with these boots. And as far as the aggressive sole, I found out that not only do I not need the aggressive sole like these, I don't want the aggressive sole like these. This is the bottom of this sole in most boots with a really aggressive, tread in the bottom of them. This is a polyurethane material, so it's really hard. What doesn't give much. And then when you go out and you step in the mud and everything else, all of these cleats, they just fill up with mud, and then these are just as slick as any other boot. If you get a boot like these, it doesn't have an aggressive sole. This material is much softer. This is more of a rubber than a polyurethane. Okay, well, that softer material, it helps you get better traction also. Especially if you do roofing, you roofers know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're on a flat surface, that soft bottom really helps. And this being a softer bottom, your foot is going to contour a little bit more to the things like walking on logs and stuff like that. Plus, these will fill up with mud just like these, but it's really easy to knock the mud out of these. And that was a huge thing I noticed with these also. I didn't track mud in the house every time I walked out in the yard and then came back in. All right, so for me now, I don't want an aggressive sole on the bottom. For hunting, for work boot, for nothing. And that goes back to most of your mock toes have a softer sole like this. Now, for those of you that still think you need separate boots, separate hunting boots and work boots and all that good stuff. I mentioned these were Irish setters. Well, I did a little research on Irish setters. I was curious about them. And I knew they'd been around for a long time, but I just didn't know much about them. So I did some research. Irish setter is owned by Red Wing. Red Wing's always owned Irish setters since day one for Irish setters, and Irish setters came out in 1950. Well, what Red Wing had done to make it such a popular boot, they came out with boots for specific jobs. Like one of their early boots was for oil field workers. So the boot was specifically made for people working in oil fields. Well, Red Wing, they wanted an outdoor boot, or a boot that they could market as an outdoor boot. So they came out with the Irish Setter brand, and then the Irish Setter boots. And those were specifically for hunters and farmers as an outdoor boot. And it was a mock toe, by the way. Well, Red Wing noticed that the farmers and hunters, they liked their Irish Setter boots so much, they started wearing them to work. Red Wing says, that's a good idea. So in 1952, Red Wing came out with the 755 and 757. One's a 6-inch boot, one's an 8-inch boot. And I'm going to put up a picture here of those. Okay, that's one of, if not the most iconic work boot in U.S. history. I mean, that was the boot in the 50s and 60s, probably into the 70s. All right. That boot is the Irish setters. Near as I can tell, there's no difference between the 755s, 757s, and the first Irish setters that came out. So our most iconic work boot here in the U.S., it is a hunting boot. All right, so if you think you really need separate boots, I think that's marketing speaking. Just, my personal opinion there. And if you notice 755 and 757, they're also mock toes. And apparently it's become fashionable to wear those now. Red Wing came out with, I forget what they call it, their original or something like that, and reissue something. Anyway, they're making those boots again, 755 and 757, but they're making them almost exactly like they made them when they first came out. So that was just, I thought, pretty interesting there. So for me and what I look for in a pair of boots, I want a mock toe boot, I want it uninsulated, and I want a waterproof, breathable liner. I want a Goodyear welt so I can have them resoled. And that's pretty much it. And I do prefer an 8-inch boot myself. The 6-inch boots are probably more comfortable, but in the places I go and the things I do, the 8-inch boot helps me as far as keeping my feet dry, you know, creeks and things like that. Really wet grass. And so that's what I look for in a boot. Now I need to get some new boots. I need to carry these to a local cobbler and have them resoled. But I want to be breaking in another pair of boots, you know, while that's being done. And these boots are showing their age. I've had these boots a long time and they've been worn a lot. And Irish Setter still makes this boot. The problem is Red Wing moved production of them off to China. And a lot of you may not care, and that's fine, but for me it's a problem. And I'm a firm believer you should try to buy things made as close to you as possible. If you can't, you can't, or you can't find what you want, make close by. Okay, you know, I get that. But in the case of China, I've got a special exception for China. Okay, I don't want anything made in China if I can help it. And it's getting tough to find things not made there. I mean, and my issue with China is the communists. And every time I buy something or you buy something from China, that's more money helping eventually going to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. They're bad people, and I don't want to support them. I mean, just bottom line. So yeah, I try real hard not to buy anything made in China, and this particular pair was made in China. I did not realize it when I bought them. These Rockies that I don't even wear, that I've had for absolutely ever, I keep them thinking, okay, if it ever, you know, snowed real deep, and I might wear them, but I'm not. I need to get rid of these. These were made in China, and most Rockies are made in the U.S. And this isn't buy USA. USA is, you know, the best you can get, blah, 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 blah. If anything, I'm becoming really disappointed with the quality of a lot of stuff made in USA now. But there's still some good stuff made here too, so if it means paying a little extra, I will. Or if I can buy something from a country that doesn't have an evil communist government running that country, I'm okay with that too. And for myself, I'm not saying I wouldn't buy a pair of boots made in China, but it'd have to be because my feet had started bothering me because from going barefooted. So yeah, I try to avoid China, as tough as that is. And with the labeling now that companies do, they're trying to not let you know whatever was made in China. And anyway, yeah, so these were a great pair of boots, but I'm done with Red Wing. Now, I've seen a pair of Thorogood boots that they're made in the USA that I think is going to be a really good boot. I think it was the 1957 Flyaway series or Pitts something. It met my criteria. It was a mock toe boot, had a waterproof liner, breathable liner, a sole that wasn't overly aggressive, and it was a softer sole. I think it's going to be a good boot, but I don't know anything about Thorogood boots. So, if any of you have any experience with them, hey, speak up. Or, what are some things you've picked up over the years on boots? What would you recommend? And that's the whole point of all of this, is just for us to share information and put our heads together and try to figure out what are the best products we can get for certain applications, or that we need and use. I hope some of you got some good information from that, and I hope some of you are going to be able to comment and add to the information there. So that's what we're hoping for here, and I think that covered it on boots, at least for now. And if I do get the Thorogood boots, after I wear them for 6 months or a year or so, I plan on doing a review on them after that, and okay, this is what I think of those, or whatever boot I end up with, because I'm still not entirely 100%. And for the next Tuesday Night Trading Post, what would y'all like for us to look at next time? And I'm thinking maybe flannel shirts. It's getting time for the flannel. Might be a good topic. Okay, just let me know what y'all think. And God bless and have a good evening.